Marcus Chen sat alone in the observation deck, his lunch bag resting on his lap. The stars stretched out before him through the massive window, countless points of light against the black void of space. He had 30 minutes before his next shift started, fixing broken air filters and faulty door panels throughout orbital station Kepler 9. He unwrapped his sandwich carefully. Peanut butter and jelly, cut diagonally, just the way his daughter Emily liked it. She was 6 years old and living with her grandparents back on Earth. Marcus made these sandwiches out of habit now, even though Emily wasn't here to eat them. It had been 3 months since he'd seen her. The job on the station paid well, enough to give her a good future, but some days the distance felt like a physical weight on his chest. The observation deck was usually quiet during second shift. Most of the station's residents were working or sleeping. Marcus preferred it this way. The constant noise of the main corridors, filled with dozens of alien species speaking in languages that hurt his ears, sometimes overwhelmed him. Here he could think about Emily, about her mother Sarah who had died 2 years ago, about the life they had planned together. A sound interrupted his thoughts. A soft, hiccuping sob echoed from somewhere near the corner of the deck. Marcus looked up. At first he saw nothing. Then he noticed movement behind one of the decorative pillars. Something small and shimmering purple was huddled there. He stood up slowly, setting his lunch aside. As he approached, the shape became clearer. It was a child, no taller than Emily, with scales that shifted between purple and gold in the starlight. Small horns curved back from her head. Her eyes were large and filled with tears that looked almost like liquid silver. A draconid. Marcus had seen the adults from a distance, towering figures that made even the station's security team nervous. The Draconid Empire controlled a quarter of the known galaxy. They were warriors, conquerors, beings that other species whispered about in worried tones. But this was a child, a scared, crying child. Marcus noticed something else. The observation deck had been empty when he arrived, but now there were a few other beings scattered around. An insectoid merchant, 2 gray-skinned diplomats, a maintenance worker like himself. All of them were watching the child, but none of them moved closer. In fact, they seemed to be edging toward the exits. The child sobbed again, her small body shaking. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. It was the same feeling he got when Emily cried, when any child cried. An instinct deeper than thought. He walked closer, keeping his movements slow and calm. The child looked up at him with wide eyes. This close, Marcus could see she was terrified. Lost, probably, separated from her parents in this massive station where every corridor looked the same. "Hey there," Marcus said softly, crouching down to her level. "Are you okay?" The child stared at him. She didn't seem to understand his words, but his tone must have carried meaning. She didn't run away. Marcus thought about what Emily needed when she was scared. Something familiar, something comforting. He reached back to where he had left his lunch and picked up his sandwich. "Are you hungry?" He held it out to her, keeping his hand steady. The child looked at the sandwich, then at Marcus. Her tears had stopped, but her breathing was still uneven. Slowly, she reached out and took the sandwich from his hand. Her fingers had small claws, but she was gentle, careful not to scratch him. She sniffed the sandwich, then took a small bite. Her eyes widened slightly. She took another bite, larger this time. Marcus smiled. "Good, right? My daughter loves these." He sat down on the floor, a few feet away from her, giving her space. The child ate the sandwich in small, careful bites, watching him the entire time. "I bet you're lost," Marcus said, keeping his voice low and calm. "This station is really big. I got lost on my first day, too. Ended up in the cargo bay instead of my quarters. Took me 2 hours to find my way back." The child tilted her head, listening. Marcus couldn't tell if she understood any of his words, but she seemed to relax slightly. I have a daughter about your size, Marcus continued. Her name is Emily. She has brown hair and she loves to draw pictures of stars. She wants to be an astronaut when she grows up, or maybe a veterinarian. She changes her mind every week. The child finished the sandwich. Some jelly was smeared on her scales near her mouth. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a napkin. He held it out to her. Here, you've got a little... She took the napkin and wiped her face, mimicking his gesture. They sat together in the quiet observation deck. Marcus told her about Emily's latest school project, about the cat they used to have, about the park near their old house where Emily liked to swing so high she thought she could touch the sky. The child's breathing had calmed completely. She was listening to him with an intensity that reminded Marcus of how Emily looked when he read her bedtime stories. After about 10 minutes, the door to the observation deck slid open. 4 security officers rushed in, followed by 2 Draconid adults in ornate armor. The officers looked relieved. The Draconid adults looked shocked. The child jumped up and ran to the adults, speaking in a language of clicks and low rumbles. One of the armored Draconids scooped her up, holding her close. The security chief, a stern woman named Torres, approached Marcus. Mr. Chen, thank you for staying with her. We've been searching for 20 minutes. Marcus stood up, brushing dust off his uniform. She was scared. I just sat with her until you arrived. Torres gave him an odd look, something between respect and confusion. Most people can't get that close to a Draconid child, especially when they're in distress. She's just a kid, Marcus said simply. The Draconid adults were speaking to the security team in perfect galactic common now. The child was safe in one's arms, calm and quiet. As they prepared to leave, the child looked back at Marcus and made a small gesture, pressing her hand to her chest. Marcus smiled and waved. After they left, Marcus checked his watch. His break was over. He gathered his empty lunch bag and headed back to work, thinking about Emily and counting the days until his next visit home. He didn't know that from a concealed alcove he hadn't noticed. Someone else had watched the entire encounter. Queen Zathera of the Draconid Empire had been searching for her daughter in stealth mode, her advanced armor rendering her invisible. She had seen everything. The human approaching when all others fled, the sandwich, the stories, the simple, uncomplicated kindness. And she had felt something she had not experienced in decades. Surprise. 3 days passed normally for Marcus. He fixed a stuck door in Section 7, replaced air filters in the residential quarters, and helped install new lighting in the market district. His hands stayed busy, but his mind wandered to Emily. Her birthday was coming up in 2 weeks. He had already ordered a present, a telescope that would arrive before his next trip home. On the 4th day, his communicator beeped during breakfast. The message was brief and official. Report to station commander's office immediately. Marcus's stomach dropped. In 3 months of working on Kepler 9, he had never been summoned to the commander's office. He ran through everything he had done recently, trying to think of what might have gone wrong. Had he made a mistake in his work? Broken some regulation he didn't know about? The walk to the administrative level felt longer than usual. Other workers gave him curious looks. News traveled fast on a space station. Station Commander Patricia Wells was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who had served in Earth's first deep space missions. Her office was neat and efficient, with a large window showing the curve of the planet below and 3 monitors displaying station operations. She looked up when Marcus entered. Her expression was unreadable. "Sit down, Mr. Chen." Marcus sat, his heart pounding. Commander Wells folded her hands on her desk. "Do you remember the incident in Observation Deck 3, 4 days ago?" "The lost child," Marcus said. "Yes, ma'am." "That child was Princess Shannara, only daughter of Queen Zathera of the Draconid Empire." The blood drained from Marcus's face. Princess. He had given a princess his peanut butter and jelly sandwich. "Sir, ma'am, I didn't know. I just saw a scared kid and— Commander Wells held up a hand. You're not in trouble, Chen. Quite the opposite. She tapped one of her monitors. The Draconid delegation has requested your presence, specifically, by name. Marcus blinked. I'm sorry, what? Queen Zathera herself has asked to meet with you. On her flagship, the Eternal Flame. Why would a queen want to meet with me? I'm just a maintenance tech. Commander Wells leaned back in her chair. That's what I asked their ambassador. All they would say is that the queen wishes to express her gratitude personally. She paused. Chen, I'm going to be honest with you. The Draconids don't do things like this. They're polite, efficient, and they keep their distance. They certainly don't invite random humans to their warships. Can I refuse? Marcus asked weakly. Technically, yes. Practically, that would be a diplomatic insult that could affect Earth's standing with one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. Wells sighed. Look, I don't think you're in danger. If they wanted to harm you, they wouldn't bother with formal invitations. But this is unusual, and I want you to be careful. An hour later, Marcus stood in Docking Bay 12, watching the Draconid shuttle settle onto the platform. It was sleek and dark, covered in scales that looked almost organic. When the door opened, 2 Draconid guards emerged, each standing over 8 feet tall. Their armor glowed with faint energy patterns. Marcus Chen? One of them asked in perfect English. That's me. Come with us, please. The Queen is waiting. The shuttle interior was beautiful and slightly uncomfortable. The seats were too large, designed for beings much bigger than humans. Marcus strapped himself in as the shuttle departed. Through the window, he watched Kepler 9 shrink away, and then the Eternal Flame came into view. The ship was enormous, easily 5 times the size of the station. Its hull was dark red, segmented like dragon scales. Lights pulsed along its length like a slow heartbeat. They docked in a private bay. As Marcus stepped out, he was struck by the size of everything. The corridors were wide and tall, the doors massive. The walls had a strange texture, almost alive. Soft lights glowed from recessed panels, giving everything a warm amber tone. Other Draconids passed them in the corridors. All of them turned to stare at Marcus. Some looked curious, others looked suspicious. A few seemed almost amused. The guards led him through several sections of the ship, past rooms filled with technology Marcus didn't recognize, past windows showing the stars wheeling by. Finally, they stopped at a large door carved with intricate patterns. The Queen's private chambers, one guard said. She waits inside. Be respectful. The door slid open silently. The room beyond was unexpected. Marcus had imagined a throne room, something cold and imposing. Instead, he saw what looked almost like a living space. There were seats and cushions, plants growing in careful arrangements, and soft light coming from crystals embedded in the walls. One entire wall was a window showing space. Queen Zathera stood by the window. She was tall, even for a Draconid, with scales that shimmered deep purple and gold. She wore simple robes rather than armor. Her horns swept back gracefully from her head, and her eyes were a brilliant amber color. She turned when Marcus entered. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Marcus Chen, she said. Her voice was rich and surprisingly gentle. Thank you for coming. Your Majesty, Marcus said, unsure if he should bow. He settled for a respectful nod. Please, sit. She gestured to a chair that had clearly been brought in for him, human-sized and out of place among the Draconid furniture. Marcus sat. The Queen settled onto a cushioned seat across from him. I want to thank you, she began, for helping my daughter. Shannara told me about your kindness. Anyone would have done the same, Marcus said. No, the Queen said firmly. They would not have. That is why you are here. She leaned forward slightly. Tell me, Marcus Chen, When you approached my daughter, did you feel afraid? Marcus thought about it. A little nervous, maybe, but mostly I just saw that she was scared. She was broadcasting a distress cry. All Draconid children do this when frightened. It is an evolutionary trait, meant to summon parents and drive away threats. The frequency affects the nervous systems of most species, triggering intense fear and the urge to flee. The Queen watched his face carefully. Everyone else in that observation deck ran away. Security footage shows them leaving within seconds of Shannara's arrival, but you approached. I heard her crying, Marcus said. I didn't think about anything else. Exactly, the Queen said softly. You heard a child in distress, and every other instinct became secondary. She stood and walked to the window. My people are powerful, Marcus Chen. We are warriors. Our empire spans hundreds of worlds. But we are also alone. Other species fear us, even our children, especially our children. She turned back to him, and Marcus saw something in her eyes that surprised him. Sadness. I have been thinking about your species, the Queen continued. Humans are new to the galactic community. You have no great weapons, no vast fleets, no special abilities. And yet, she paused. You walked toward what your instincts should have told you was a predator, because a child needed help. She needed a sandwich and someone to talk to, Marcus said simply. The Queen made a sound that might have been a laugh. Yes, a sandwich. She returned to her seat. I have a proposal for you, Marcus Chen. But first I need to understand. Are all humans like you? And so Marcus found himself telling the Queen about humanity, about parents who adopted children from different countries, different backgrounds, about people who raised orphaned animals, who cared for creatures that could never repay them, about Emily, and how losing Sarah had made him understand that love was a choice you made every day. The Queen listened to all of it, her amber eyes never leaving his face. When he finished, she nodded slowly. I think, she said, that your species may be exactly what the galaxy needs, what my people need. She stood. Marcus Chen, I would like to offer you a position, a bridge between species, a way to help Draconid children learn to interact with the galaxy, with human mediators who see children as children, regardless of what they look like. Marcus thought of Emily, of the distance between them. I would need to bring my daughter, he said. Of course, the Queen said. She would be welcome, safe, honored. Marcus took a deep breath. Then I accept. The Queen smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth that should have been frightening but somehow weren't. Good, she said. Let us change the galaxy together, one sandwich at a time. Marcus returned to Earth 2 weeks later. The transport shuttle descended through familiar clouds, and he pressed his face to the window like a child, watching his home planet grow larger. He had stories to tell. Impossible stories, but first he needed to see Emily. His in-laws' house in suburban Oregon looked exactly the same. The garden his mother-in-law tended, the basketball hoop his father-in-law had installed, the porch where Sarah used to sit with her morning coffee. Marcus's chest tightened as he walked up the path. The door flew open before he could knock. Daddy! Emily launched herself at him, all flying brown hair and gap-toothed smile. Marcus caught her and lifted her up, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. Hey, baby girl, I missed you so much. I missed you too. Grandma said you're taking me to space. Is that real? Can I really go? Marcus set her down and knelt to her level. It's real. But we need to talk about it first, okay? All of us. Over dinner, Marcus explained everything to Emily and her grandparents. The station, the lost princess, the Queen's offer. He showed them the official documents, the guaranteed salary, the housing arrangements, the educational opportunities for Emily. His mother-in-law, Margaret, looked worried. It's so far away. I know, Marcus said, but you can visit. The Draconids have agreed to provide transport, and Emily would have experiences no other human child has had. His father-in-law, Robert, studied the documents. "It's a good opportunity," he said slowly. "But are you sure it's safe?" Marcus thought about Queen Zathara's amber eyes, the gentleness in her voice when she spoke about her daughter. "I'm sure," he said. Emily tugged on his sleeve. "Will there be other kids?" "Yes," Marcus said. "Kids from all over the galaxy. You'll make friends with beings humans have never even met before." Emily's eyes went wide. "Can I bring my telescope?" Marcus laughed. "Yes, you can bring your telescope." They left Earth 3 days later. Emily pressed against the shuttle window the entire journey, pointing at every star, every ship, every sight. When Kepler 9 came into view, she gasped. "It's like a giant wheel in space." "That's exactly what it is," Marcus said. Their new quarters were in a special section of the station, designated for the Human Draconid Cultural Exchange Program. The apartment was larger than their old house, with windows showing the stars and furniture sized for humans. Emily ran from room to room, claiming the smaller bedroom as her own. That evening, there was a knock on their door. Marcus opened it to find Queen Zathara standing there, with Princess Shannara beside her. Both were dressed in simple robes, no guards or ceremony. "I hope we are not intruding," the Queen said. "Not at all," Marcus said, recovering from his surprise. "Please come in." Emily peered around her father's leg, her eyes huge. Shannara peered around her mother's leg, equally curious. "Emily," Marcus said gently, "this is Queen Zathara and Princess Shannara. Your Majesty, this is my daughter, Emily." The two children stared at each other. Then Shannara held out something small and wrapped in cloth. She spoke in the clicking Draconid language. The Queen translated. "She says she brought a gift. To thank you for sharing your father." Emily stepped forward and accepted the gift carefully. She unwrapped it to reveal a small crystal that glowed with inner light, shifting through colors like a sunset. "It's beautiful," Emily whispered. Shannara smiled, showing small pointed teeth. Emily smiled back. "Do you want to see my room?" Emily asked. "I have a telescope." Shannara looked up at her mother, who nodded. The two children disappeared down the hallway, and Marcus could hear Emily's excited chatter mixing with Shannara's musical clicks. Queen Zathara watched them go with an expression Marcus couldn't quite read. "May I sit?" she asked. "Of course." They sat in the living area. Through the wall, they could hear the children laughing. "I want to explain something to you," the Queen said. "About my people. About why this matters so much." She looked out at the stars. Draconids evolved as apex predators on a harsh world. We had no natural enemies except each other. Our emotional broadcasts, the ones that make other species flee, developed as a way to establish territory and dominance. She paused. When we reached the stars, we found we were good at conquest, too good. We built an empire through strength and fear. It was efficient, effective. Her voice grew quieter. And it made us profoundly lonely. Marcus stayed silent, listening. Other species approach us with fear or greed, never friendship, never simple kindness. My daughter is 6 years old, and before you, no non-Draconid had ever willingly touched her, held her, comforted her. The Queen looked at him. "Do you understand what that means? To raise a child knowing the galaxy sees her as a monster?" "Emily lost her mother when she was 4, Marcus said softly. For a year, she barely spoke. She would have nightmares and wake up crying. People told me to be strong, to not cry in front of her, to show her everything was fine. He shook his head. But what helped wasn't me being strong. It was me sitting with her in the dark, crying together, being honest about the sadness. Sharing it made it bearable. The Queen nodded slowly. Your species understands something we have forgotten. That vulnerability can be strength, that caring for others, even at cost to yourself, creates bonds stronger than fear. Is that why you want humans involved in this program? Marcus asked. Partially. The Queen stood and walked to the window. But there is more. We have been studying your species since your message came through diplomatic channels. Your history is full of violence and conflict, like most species, but it is also full of something else. You adopt young from other species. You care for animals that serve no purpose. You create stories about befriending aliens, about finding family in unexpected places. She turned back to him. Your empathy extends beyond biological imperative. A human will care for a robot, a stuffed toy, a drawing of a creature that does not exist. You see a sad face, and something in your brain says, help it, regardless of what that face belongs to. I never thought of it that way, Marcus said. The galaxy has thousands of species, the Queen continued. We have warriors and scholars, traders and artists, but we have never had a species whose first instinct is to pack bond with anything that seems to need it. You are unique, Marcus Chen, and you may be exactly what the galaxy needs to heal some very old wounds. Down the hallway, Emily laughed at something Shannara said. She's making friends, Marcus observed. Yes, the Queen said. And tomorrow, other Draconid families will arrive, then families from the Vurik collective, whose children have mandibles and compound eyes, then the Sha'an, whose children are made of living crystal, all species whose young frighten others. She looked at him. Can your people help them too? Marcus thought about the humans he knew, teachers who worked with difficult children, parents who adopted kids with special needs, social workers who saw past behavior to the hurting child underneath. Yes, he said, we can help. The Queen smiled. Then we have much work to do. Over the next few days, Marcus was introduced to the scope of the project. The Draconids had built an entire educational facility attached to the station, with classrooms and play areas designed for multiple species. Human volunteers were arriving weekly, teachers, childcare workers, pediatricians, psychologists. Each one was carefully selected for their experience with children and their open-mindedness. Marcus met Dr. Sarah Kim, a child psychologist from Seoul who specialized in cross-cultural communication. He met James Martinez, a kindergarten teacher from Mexico City who spoke 6 languages and could make any child laugh. He met Yuki Tanaka, a pediatric nurse from Tokyo who had worked in refugee camps and never met a child she couldn't comfort. They were a team of 15 humans, and they were about to attempt something that had never been done before, teaching the galaxy's most feared children how to make friends. The first official session was scheduled for the following week. Marcus stood in the empty classroom, looking at the chairs sized for different species, the toys chosen to be universally appealing, the walls painted in soft colors. Emily came and stood beside him, slipping her hand into his. "Are you nervous, Daddy?" "A little," he admitted. "Me too," she said. "But Shannara is nice. I think the other kids will be nice too." Marcus squeezed her hand. "You're right. They're just kids." "Just kids," Emily agreed. And somehow, those 2 words made everything seem possible. The first day of the program started with 12 children and 20 nervous parents. The children came from 3 species, Draconids, Vrek, and 1 brave Kalian family whose child had telepathic abilities that sometimes leaked overwhelming emotions to those nearby. Marcus stood at the entrance to the Learning Center with Dr. Kim and James Martinez, greeting each family. The parents all had the same look, hopeful but guarded, wanting to believe this would work, but afraid to trust. The Vurik family arrived first. The parents were tall and insectoid, with 4 arms and large compound eyes. Their child, whose name sounded like clicking and chirps that the translator rendered as Swiftwing, had smaller features but the same general form. The child stayed close to their mother, antennae quivering nervously. "Welcome," Marcus said warmly. "Swiftwing, we have a space exploration puzzle inside that I think you'll really like." The child's translator rendered their response. "Will the others be afraid of me?" Marcus knelt down. "Some might be nervous at first because you look different from them. But kids are good at getting past that when they play together, and all the grown-ups here think you're awesome just as you are." Swiftwing's antennae perked up slightly. Shannara arrived with her mother. She wore a small bag over her shoulder that Emily had helped her decorate with stars. When she saw Swiftwing, she walked right over. "I like your eyes," Shannara said through her translator. "They're pretty. Do you want to sit together?" Swiftwing looked at their parents, who nodded encouragingly. "Okay." Just like that, the first bridge was built. The session itself was carefully designed. The human volunteers didn't try to force interaction. Instead, they created an environment where play happened naturally, building blocks that could be assembled by any type of appendage, art supplies in various textures, a reading corner with books displayed on screens in multiple languages. Emily proved to be a natural ambassador. She moved between children easily, commenting on what they were building or drawing, asking questions without any fear. When a young draconid accidentally knocked over her block tower, she just laughed and said, "Let's make it taller this time." Marcus watched from the side of the room, taking notes. Dr. Kim stood beside him. "It's fascinating," she murmured. "Watch how the children orient toward the humans. We're like emotional anchors for them." Marcus saw what she meant. When Swiftwing got frustrated with a puzzle, James was there immediately, his calm presence soothing. When one of the Draconid children had a minor conflict over a toy, Yuki stepped in with gentle mediation. "We're not just teachers," Marcus said. "We're buffers." "Exactly," Dr. Kim agreed. "We absorb the emotional intensity and reflect back calm. For these kids, who are used to everyone either fearing them or being overwhelmed by them, it must be incredible to have someone just stay." The program continued twice a week. More families enrolled. Word spread through the diplomatic channels. Representatives from other species began requesting meetings, asking if the program could expand to include their children. The Galactic Council took notice. 3 months into the program, Marcus was summoned to testify before a special committee. He stood in a massive chamber where delegates from 50 species sat in tiered seats, all focused on him. The head delegate, a crystalline being from Sha'an Prime, spoke. "Marcus Chen, we have reviewed reports of your program. The results are unprecedented. Children from species that have never successfully integrated are forming friendships. Parents report significant improvements in their children's confidence and social skills." The delegate paused. "We want to understand how this is possible. Our own specialists have tried similar programs for decades with minimal success." Marcus thought carefully about his answer. "I think it comes down to one thing. We genuinely like the kids. We're not studying them or trying to fix them. We just see children who need support, and we want to help." "But the Draconid fear response," another delegate interjected. "It is neurologically hardwired in most species. How do humans overcome it?" Dr. Kim, who was there as an expert witness, stepped forward. "We don't overcome it," she said. "We feel it. Our heart rates increase, our palms sweat, our fight-or-flight response activates." She smiled slightly. "But humans have another response that often overrides survival instinct, the caretaking response. When we perceive something as a child in distress, our brains prioritize helping over fleeing. It's not that we're immune to fear, it's that we care more about the child than we fear the danger." The chamber fell silent. "That is..." The Sha'an delegate searched for words. unprecedented in galactic biology. Is it dangerous? Another delegate asked. This instinct could be exploited. It could, Dr. Kim acknowledged. But it's also allowed humans to domesticate dozens of species on our planet, to adopt children across genetic lines, to care for individuals who cannot reciprocate. It's a vulnerability that became a strength. A Vrek delegate spoke up. I would like to add something. My niece is in this program. For the first time in her life, she has friends. She comes home excited to talk about her day. She draws pictures of her classmates. The humans gave her something we could not. The experience of being treated as simply a child. More delegates shared similar stories. The Kalian representative talked about how their telepathic child had learned to control their abilities better with patient human guidance. A Draconid official mentioned that their son now wanted to be a teacher, inspired by James Martinez. The testimony went on for hours. Finally, the head delegate called for a recess. The committee would deliberate and make a recommendation to the full council. Marcus stepped outside the chamber exhausted. Queen Zathera was waiting in the corridor. You did well, she said. I just told them the truth. Yes. And the truth is that your species possesses something the galaxy has never seen before. She walked with him toward the viewing area. We have been studying human biology more closely. Your capacity for what you call pack bonding is neurologically distinct. Humans form attachment to almost anything. Pets, plants, robots, even inanimate objects. You name your vehicles. You apologize to furniture when you bump into it. Marcus laughed, despite himself. Guilty. It should be a weakness, the Queen continued. Caring indiscriminately should make you vulnerable, but instead, it makes you powerful in a way we are only beginning to understand. She stopped and looked at him seriously. The galaxy is full of predators and prey, Marcus Chen. Conquerors and conquered. But humans are something else entirely. You are the species that looks at the galaxy's monsters and says, those are just scared children who need a hug. Is that a bad thing? Marcus asked. No, the Queen said softly. It may be exactly what we need, but it also makes you dangerous in a way no one anticipated. Empathy is contagious. Compassion spreads. You are already changing how other species see the Draconids. What happens when you change how they see everyone? Marcus thought about Emily and Shannara, giggling together over a shared joke. About Swiftwing learning to play catch with a Draconid child, both of them clumsy and happy. About all the small moments of connection happening every day in their program. Maybe, he said, the galaxy could use a little more compassion. The Queen smiled. Perhaps it could. The next day, the Galactic Council announced their decision. The human-led integration program would be officially recognized and funded. Humans would be designated as caretaker species, a classification created specifically for them. More importantly, the Council invited Earth to establish similar programs on stations throughout galactic space. The news reached Earth like a shockwave. Humanity, newest member of the galactic community, had found their role not through military might or technological superiority, but through something much simpler, the ability to see someone in need and offer a sandwich. Applications from human volunteers flooded in. Teachers, social workers, counselors, nurses, all wanting to be part of something historic. Marcus stood in the learning center that evening, watching Emily help a young Vrak child sound out words in Galactic Common. Shannara was showing a Kalian child how to draw stars. Swiftwing was carefully building a tower with blocks, their antennae waving happily. Dr. Kim came to stand beside him. You know what we've done, right? She said quietly. What's that? We've made friends with the galaxy's nightmare species, and now everyone else has to reconsider what nightmare really means. Marcus smiled. Good. The universe isn't going to know what hit it, Dr. Kim said. Let's hope, Marcus replied. "They're ready for more sandwiches." 6 months passed like a dream Marcus sometimes couldn't believe was real. The Learning Center had expanded 3 times. What started with 12 children now served over 200. Human volunteers numbered in the hundreds, working in shifts to provide consistent care and education. New facilities were being built on 17 different stations across the galaxy. Emily had become something of a celebrity among the children. At 7 years old, she moved between species with an ease that amazed the adult observers. She taught Draconid children human games, learned Vrick songs, and helped the Kalian children practice controlling their telepathy by playing mental games that felt like adventures to her. Marcus's role had evolved too. He was no longer just a maintenance tech who happened to help a lost child. The Galactic Council had appointed him as Human Ambassador for Child Integration Services. It was a title that made him uncomfortable, but he accepted it because the work mattered. He was in his office reviewing applications for a new program site when his communicator chimed. It was a priority alert from station security. "Mr. Chen, we have a situation in Docking Bay 7. Request your immediate presence." Marcus's stomach dropped. He ran through the corridors, his mind racing through worst-case scenarios. When he burst into the security office, Commander Wells was already there, along with Queen Zathera and several other species representatives. "What happened?" Marcus asked. Wells pointed to a screen showing Docking Bay 7's external cameras. A ship was approaching the station, but it wasn't following proper docking procedures. It was small and fast, and it was being pursued by 3 security vessels. "Pirates," Wells said grimly. "They disabled a civilian transport and attempted to board. Station security intervened, but the pirates are trying to dock here. They're using the civilian ship as a shield." "Who was on the civilian transport?" Marcus asked, though he already felt the dread building. "A Draconid family," Queen Zathera said, her voice tight with controlled fury. "Returning from a visit to the Learning Center, 4 adults and 6 children." The screen showed the pirate ship forcing its way into the docking bay, the civilian transport still attached. Security teams were moving into position, but the situation was delicate. Any shots fired might hit the civilian ship. Then Marcus saw something on another screen that made his blood run cold. The Learning Center's daily schedule. Today was a special session with extra families attending. The center was full of children. "The Learning Center," Marcus said. "It's only 2 sections away from Docking Bay 7. Wells cursed. "We need to evacuate." "There's no time," Dr. Kim said, appearing at Marcus's side. "It would take 15 minutes to get all those children to safety, and we'd have to move them through corridors close to the docking bay." Queen Zathera was already moving. "I will handle the pirates personally." "Wait," Marcus said. An idea was forming, crazy and probably stupid, but it might work. "Give me 2 minutes, just 2 minutes before you go in with force." Wells looked at him like he was insane. "Chen, what are you planning?" "Trust me, please." The Queen studied his face, then nodded once. 2 minutes. Marcus ran. He grabbed his communicator and sent a message to every human volunteer in the station. "Learning Center. Now. Bring every adult human you can find." He burst into the Learning Center. The children were playing, unaware of the danger. The human volunteers looked up in alarm at his expression. "Listen carefully," Marcus said. "There are pirates 2 sections away. They have hostages, including Draconid children. We have 2 minutes to show them why that was a very bad idea." James Martinez understood immediately. "You want us to go there?" "I want every human on this station to stand between those pirates and these children. No weapons, just us." Dr. Kim was already heading for the door. "Let's go." The word spread through the human community like wildfire. Maintenance workers dropped their tools. Teachers left their classrooms. Off-duty personnel came running. Within 90 seconds, over 300 humans were streaming toward Docking Bay 7. Marcus reached the bay first. The pirate ship had docked, and armed figures in mismatched armor were attempting to force their way through the airlock. The civilian transport was attached to their ship, and through the windows Marcus could see terrified Draconid children pressed against the glass. "Open a channel to that ship," Marcus told the security officer. "Sir, I don't think—" "Do it." The channel opened. A rough voice came through, speaking in broken galactic common. "Stay back, or the hostages die. We want fuel, supplies, and safe passage." Marcus took a breath. "This is Marcus Chen, human ambassador. The hostages you're holding include 6 children." "We know. That's why you won't shoot." "You're right. We won't shoot." Marcus looked back as humans continued to pour into the corridor behind him. "But you need to understand something about humans. We have a very simple rule. Nobody hurts the kids." There was a pause. "You're in no position to make threats, human. It's not a threat. It's information." Marcus gestured, and the humans began forming a line between the pirate ship and the rest of the station. They stood shoulder to shoulder, unarmed civilians in work clothes and teaching uniforms. "You have 2 choices. You can let those children go and leave peacefully, or you can try to get past 300 humans who have decided those children are under our protection." "You're bluffing. You're not soldiers." "No," Marcus agreed. "We're teachers, mechanics, nurses, janitors. We're people who make sandwiches for lost kids and read them bedtime stories, and every single one of us would rather die than let you hurt those children." Behind him, Emily appeared at the front of the human line. She must have followed him from the learning center. Before Marcus could send her back, she spoke loudly. "I'm 7 years old. My best friend is on that ship. If you hurt her, you'll have to go through me first." Another child appeared, a human boy Marcus recognized from the residential section. "I'm 9. Those kids are my friends, too." Then more children, human children, were filtering through the adult ranks to stand at the front of the line. The pirate channel was silent. "Last chance," Marcus said quietly. "Let the children go." The airlock door of the pirate ship opened. One of the pirates appeared, and Marcus could see it in their body language, the moment they understood they had made a terrible mistake. The pirate was a Zetherian, a species known for being opportunistic but not suicidal. "The humans," the pirate said slowly. "They really would die for children that aren't even their species." "Yes," Marcus said. "We really would. We were told humans were weak, soft." "We are soft," Dr. Kim called out from the line. "Soft things are flexible. They bend instead of breaking, and they protect what they care about." The standoff lasted another 30 seconds. Then the pirate ship's cargo bay opened, and the Draconid family was released. The adults rushed out first, then carefully carried the children to safety. The human line parted to let them through, and Marcus saw several humans reaching out to comfort the frightened children as they passed. The pirates undocked and fled before station security could seal the bay. The Draconid mother, once her children were safe, turned to Marcus. Tears were streaming down her scaled face. "You stood between armed pirates and my children. You could have been killed." "Someone had to make sure the kids were okay," Marcus said simply. Queen Zathera arrived with a full security detachment, ready for battle. She took in the scene, the humans standing in formation, the rescued children, the fleeing pirate ship. Her expression was unreadable. "You confronted armed pirates," she said to Marcus, "with unarmed civilians." "Yes, Your Majesty." "And you brought children to the front line?" Emily stepped forward. "We brought ourselves. Shahnara is my friend. I wasn't going to hide while she was in danger." The Queen looked at her daughter, who had been among the hostages and was now being hugged by Emily and several other human children. Then she looked at the 300 humans still standing in their protective line. "Your species," the Queen said slowly, "is absolutely insane." "Probably," Marcus agreed, "and exactly what the galaxy needs." She turned to her guards. "Spread the word. What happened here today? Make sure every species hears the story. The humans who stood unarmed between pirates and children. The species that pack bonds with the galaxy." The news spread faster than any official announcement could have. Within hours, the entire station knew. Within a day, the story had reached every corner of the galactic network. Humans, the newest and weakest species in the Council, had faced down armed pirates to protect alien children. The responses varied by species. Some called it foolish, some called it brave. But everyone agreed on one thing. Humans were unlike anything the galaxy had encountered before. 3 days later, Marcus stood on a stage in the main assembly hall. The Galactic Council had called a special session. Representatives from every member species were present, along with media feeds broadcasting to billions across known space. The head delegate spoke. "Marcus Chen, in recognition of your service and the service of all humans involved in the integration programs, the Galactic Council wishes to bestow upon you and your species a formal honor." A document appeared on screens throughout the hall. Marcus read it in disbelief. "Humanity is hereby recognized as a caretaker species and granted dual citizenship rights throughout Council space. Any human may claim sanctuary in any Council territory. Furthermore, human volunteers in child integration programs will receive Council protection status, equivalent to diplomatic immunity." The delegate paused. "We do this not because humanity is powerful, but because you have shown us a different kind of strength. The strength to care. The strength to protect. The strength to see children as children, regardless of what they look like or where they come from." The assembly erupted in sounds of approval across dozens of species communication methods. That evening, Marcus sat in his quarters with Emily. Through the window, they could see ships from 100 different worlds docked at the station. "Daddy," Emily said, "do you think Mom would be proud?" Marcus pulled her close. "I think she'd be amazed. She always said you had enough love in your heart for the whole world. Turns out you had enough for the whole galaxy." There was a knock at the door. Queen Zathera and Shannara stood there, carrying a basket covered with a cloth. "We brought sandwiches," the Queen said with a smile. "We thought perhaps we could share a meal, as friends do." Marcus opened the door wide. "Come in. Friends should always share sandwiches." They sat together, 2 fathers, 2 daughters, 2 species that 6 months ago barely knew each other existed. They ate sandwiches and told stories and laughed at jokes that crossed species barriers. Through the window, the stars wheeled by, indifferent and eternal. But in this small room, something new was growing. Not an empire built on fear, not an alliance built on mutual benefit. Something simpler and more powerful. A family that happened to include the whole galaxy, and it all started with a sandwich offered to a crying child.